Welcome to another series of Oshkosh Rocks, the show to promote Oshkosh. We want you to be proud to live in this town, and we're going to show you why. Today, we're going to talk about downtown Oshkosh, the past, the present, and the future. There's a lot of stuff that happens right here in downtown. Years ago, it was a lumbering town, second biggest city in the state. Today, there's much going on with festivals and retail and parades, and in the future they're going to be redoing the main street and even making it a nicer place to come visit. So come on, let's go watch and see what's happening in Oshkosh.
Oshkosh rocks.
Today we're lucky enough at Oshkosh Rocks to have Joe Ferlo, the Executive Director of the Grand. Joe, welcome.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for being on the show.
It's my pleasure.
Today's show, we're talking all about downtown. Can you tell us a little bit about the Grand and why you like it being downtown and how it becomes a centerpiece of this whole community?
Sure. I'm happy to say the Grand has been a proud anchor of downtown for over 125 years now. It was built in 1883. It's the oldest operating theater building in the state of Wisconsin. And for reference, that makes it 1 year older than the Eiffel Tower. So we've obviously been a part of downtown for a long time. And when the Grand was built in the 1880s, it was meant to be a gathering place, a centerpiece for the community, a place where people within the community would go and gather to be on stage or to be in the audience. And it's very interesting that over the course of history, while the Grand has changed with the times, its core function to be that centerpiece for Oshkosh's community has remained the same.
Yes. Years ago when they tore down the old buildings and made Opera House Square, the Grand was kind of the centerpiece of that too. Does the Grand continue to use Opera House Square for certain events in the summertime? We
do. We're really happy to use that park for a couple of events, including something we started a few years ago called the Grand Scoop, where we open up the back doors of the theater and take the festival outdoors. We announce the new season, we do some free entertainment, we give away some ice cream, and we just kind of say thank you to the community for their support. It's a very important part of downtown as it evolves from solely a retail center, which is, as you know, what most of these downtowns were originally, into kind of a social center, which is where I see the future and where I see us being a big part of it.
Great, great. Right now you're involved in a big renovation, a big change the roof and the... How's that going?
We are. The Grand was first restored in 1986, and this past year, while we were preparing to do yet another upgrade to the facility, they discovered some structural issues in the roof that necessitated us closing down and going through another repair process. I'm happy to say that process is now underway, and everything seems to be progressing very well. And we're looking forward to reopening again in 2010.
In 2010, you're going to reopen. Okay. So you're still programming, you still have shows, you're still continuing on with business even though the building's closed.
I think it's very important that there's the Grand Opera House, the building, and then there's the Grand, the kind of state of mind that says this is what we are in the community. And it's really important for us, even while the building is being repaired, to keep the ideal alive. So we've continued to program, we've converted the lobby into a little 50-seat performance space. We do a few things there. We're part of the Gallery Walk, which is another big downtown event.
Yes.
And we're doing some programming off-site in some other venues just to keep our audiences engaged and to keep people aware of what's going on at the Grand.
Okay. Can you touch a little bit about the programming? What type of shows you get? What type of audiences come in and watch?
Sure.
And what
in a normal year, there are about 100 performances at the Grand Opera House. And they have a broad range. We bring in touring artists. We have a series that is underwritten by community folks, and we'll bring in touring artists. We also do an educational program where school kids are bussed into the theater for a dozen shows in the course of a given year that are kind of literature or education based. But a wide portion of the use of the Opera House is by the local folks. There are 4 high schools in a typical year who call the Grand home. And those kids come and they perform their musicals on stage. So they're on stage, they're performing for their families, they're performing for their classmates, and it becomes a whole little community. They were the toughest people to face down and say the building wasn't going to be available for them.
My daughter goes to North High School, and I know she loved being on that grand stage, and she's excited about when you're going to reopen and get her back up there again.
What I think really engaged, it's one of the most important things we do, I think, is to have local people participate in shows. We do fundraisers with local celebrities on stage performing as well to raise funds, but when we were going through the Stand With the Grand campaign to raise community awareness about how important this building was, it was interesting to have business people and kids and folks of a different generation kind of all coming forward and saying basically the same thing. I performed on the Grand stage in 1950-something with the community players, or I performed somewhere else this year because the Grand was closed and I'm looking forward to being reopened, or I'm helping to raise funds for the Grand because it was a big part of my life when I was growing up and now I want to give back to the community. That's the kind of spirit of the Grand that I think is so critical. And you could take that a step further and say that's the spirit of downtown, because downtown ultimately in the community of our history is equated with the longevity of a community. It's equated with the where we go. And downtowns all over, including ours, are working hard to remake themselves into that place where the community can gather. And to have a centerpiece like the Grand, I think, is vital. And we're really happy to be engaged in that programming.
Well, it's a very special place, and it makes downtown Oshkosh special.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Joe.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for watching Oshkosh Rocks. Check out downtown. It's pretty cool down here.